If my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit. Hello YouTubers, and welcome to the first of my reviews of the fantastic, magnificent Back to the Future trilogy. Now, this film celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, so why not dive in to review the whole trilogy? So, of course, we will have to start off with the first in the trilogy, but first, just have a look at this awesome box. From the Academy Award-winning team of executive producer Steven Spielberg and director Robert Zemeckis comes the hilariously original, groundbreaking adventure that thrilled critics and audiences alike and sparked one of the most successful movie trilogies ever to alter history. The year is 1985, but not for long, because teenager Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, is about to be blasted back to 1955 aboard the plutonium-powered DeLorean, created by eccentric genius Doc Emmett Brown, played wonderfully by Christopher Lloyd. But when Marty accidentally keeps his parents-to-be from falling in love, it triggers a time-shattering chain reaction that could vaporize his future and leave him trapped in the past. Now Marty's only hope is to change history before the clock runs out on his one-in-a-million chance to get himself back to the future. Powered by spectacular special effects, unforgettable songs and outrageously imaginative action, it's an exhilarating motion picture triumph you want to experience time and time again. That sums up the film perfectly. First off, one thing I want to say about this film, the quotes. I quote this film all the time. It is one of the films to quote, in my opinion. You may have heard my quote of what Doc Brown said at the beginning of this review. I love saying that quote. And there's tons of other quotes in this film, like the end of the film when Marty asks Doc Brown what happens to us, Doc. Do we become assholes or something? I just love it. It's brilliant. Everything about this is fantastic. And I'm not going to go into depth about what happens. I more or less told you the whole plot of the film. What happens is Marty McFly, he's just a normal high school kid. He's fallen in love with his girlfriend Jennifer, and they're about to go away, and they are going to spend some time together. Anyway, he gets called by Doc Brown, this mysterious scientist who he's befriended. How they're friends, I've no idea, because Marty McFly is just a typical 1980s cool person, whereas Doc Brown is just completely balmy. And they end up being friends, which is kind of odd, but at the same time bloody awesome, because it's one of the best cinematic duos in history. And that is made purely by the genius casting that has been made in this. The casting of Marty McFly, of Michael J. Fox. No one else better could have played him, in my opinion. And Christopher Lloyd is irreplaceable as Doc Brown. So yeah, can't really argue with that, really. He's just brilliant. And what happens is they meet up on this car park at night time, and Doc Brown demonstrates to Marty that he's got this DeLorean time travel machine. It can travel in time once it hits 88 miles per hour. And he tests it on his dog, Einstein. And what happens is Doc Brown took some plutonium from some terrorists. Yeah. There would have to be some terrorists in this, wouldn't there? And what happens is Doc Brown supposedly gets killed. Marty goes into the DeLorean, of course not realising that the dates are set for 1955, and he ends up accidentally travelling back to 1955, and everything's different. It's like a whole different world, because it's 30 years before his time, so he's kind of distressed. And I think if I was in his shoes, I would be pretty distressed. Say if I travelled back to the 1980s, I'd be pretty distressed, because I think this room, what I'm sat in right now, wouldn't even exist. Plus I wouldn't even exist, seeing as I was born in 1995, so yeah, it would have been quite odd. But at the same time, quite cool, because I heard that the 1980s was an interesting time to live through, to say the least. Yeah. Marty changes the course of events, whereby his mum fancies him instead of his dad, George McFly, played by Crispin, and everything just goes on from there, really, and he has to meet a past version of Doc Brown and persuade him that he travelled in time, persuade him that his idea for the flux capacitor is all true, and more or less for the rest of the film, he just tries to get Marty to go back to 1985 and to save Doc from getting killed by the Libyans. So this film is just brilliant. The way it's all worked out, scientifically, it's been very well written, thought out, very well directed, and it's just funny as well. There's just so many funny moments, and I never get tired of it. I can watch this film and then just watch it again straight after. I just never get bored of it. I really, really don't. It's just one of the best examples of science fiction and how to just make a film in general. It's one of the best films of all time. There we go, I said it. I've put it out there. One of the best films of all time. And Robert Zemeckis is directing this film as well. Robert Zemeckis is one of the best directors of all time as well. So, yeah. Everything about this film is just perfect. The cast is perfect. The writing's perfect. The setting's perfect. The humour is perfect. The action is perfect. The special effects were quite good for the time. Yeah, you can see they've aged a bit since, seeing it is a 30-year-old film, bearing in mind, but still, I think the special effects hold up surprisingly well for a film that came out in 1985. And again, it's just so quotable. It's like, I am Darth Vader, and I come from the planet Vulcan. And the highlights for me are when Marty tries to get his dad and his mum to fall in love, but at the same time, he has to deal with the high school asshole who is Biff, and he's the main antagonist for the whole trilogy. He's played by Thomas F. Wilson. Now, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here, butthead? Lee Thompson plays Lorraine, Marty's mum, who has the hots for Marty, and it's really funny, those scenes, knowing that she's supposed to be his mum, and it's just brilliant, the way it's done and everything. It's just fantastic. The way the plot works and everything, it's just brilliant. And it's kind of odd how they would later rename the child Marty after someone she liked. And basically, just think about this for a sec. They're renaming their child after their child. They're renaming Marty after Marty. So, just bear that in mind for a sec. How complicated is that? Well, that is time travel for you. And Doc Brown is just a brilliant character, He's one of the best characters around. Christopher Lloyd, well, almost everything he's in is just fantastic, but wow, it's definitely his most iconic role in my opinion. It's up there with his performances as Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And the music is by Alan Silvestri. The music is great as well. So memorable, so catchy as well. I won't bore you with my attempt to hum the theme tune to the trilogy, but you get the idea. I won't stall any longer. I'm just going to give this film a perfect 10 in my opinion, because there's nothing to fault. It's one of the definitive films to watch, something for the whole family to watch in my opinion as well. It's got everything you want. It's got comedy. I'm a big film buff, so it ticks all the right boxes for me, and I would definitely recommend that you go to see Back to the Future. Although, having said that now, it's Back to the Past, isn't it? Because when they go to the future in the second one, well, it's October 21st, 2015, and we have passed that now. So, how do you feel about that? That it's actually in the past. The future is now in the past. When I found that out, when I discovered it, my reaction was like this. Holy shit! Don't forget to click the link below to subscribe to me, James Croft, aka the Obsesstuvian 95. Have a great day.